welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'll be discussing why Democrats are now favored to win the Senate in 2022. Also, sorry about the late upload again. I forgot again just today, so sorry about all these late uploads. This is why Democrats are favored to win the Senate now that both Georgia seats are blue. This is the seat that David Perdue had that Jon Ossoff will soon have. And for this, we're going to assume that Raphael Warnock does retain his special election seat. I don't necessarily know who would run. Doug Collins could run. I think that Raphael Warnock would still beat him, probably by smaller margins than Kelly Loeffler. But I mean, like Jon Ossoff was running against David Perdue, who he's still a Trump wing candidate, but he's not quite moderate like John McCain or Mitt Romney, but he's also not quite like a Trump-esque Republican. And Jon Ossoff is looking like he's going to beat him by about 1.5%. So I think it'll be a smaller margin, but I think he'll still probably win there regardless. And now we're going to go label all these safe Democratic states. Michael Bennett's seat in Colorado, it might be safe. I don't know. Didn't win it by a large margin, I don't think. But Colorado's also moving to the left. I think it'll still probably go to the Democrats, probably by more like likely margins, but this isn't necessarily a prediction. This is just why Democrats are favored to win. I'm going to label all these safe Republican states. Kansas, in all likelihood, won't be competitive. Ohio and Iowa, neither will they. If they were to run Barbara Bollier again, it could be. And if they were to run Laura Kelly, it could be competitive. I don't necessarily think that they will. Now, these are all the states that aren't safe. Nevada and Arizona, I think, are both lean. Mark Kelly won this seat by about 2% on the same ballot that Joe Biden won by a smaller margin. I think that he's still probably going to win there by around 2-3%. So lean margins, not that big of a margin. And then Nevada will probably go with the Catherine Cortez Masto by around what Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton and she won it by, which is 2.4%. Probably something around there. I'm going to label. Oh, I forgot to label Illinois. Probably something around there. And you already see Democrats are already one seat away. Next up, I'm just gonna go label more states. Let's go label Florida. Let's go get out of the way. In all likelihood, first off, Marco Rubio is not gonna retire. Probably, and second off, even if he were to retire, that would give Democrats a better chance. But he's still probably not going to lose his seat. Democrats would have to run a really good candidate, and they would in the next 2 years to honestly a year because of the primary season and whatnot. The Florida Democratic Party would have to completely change what they're doing around. Now, all these states are very interesting, including Alaska. That's surprising. New Hampshire, I think, is probably going to be tilt blue. Chris Sununu might run. He's a very popular New Hampshire governor. I think that would be good for the Democrats because then Chris Sununu wouldn't be running in the race for governor. So he would probably Democrats are going to come out of this with either a Senate seat, a governor seat, or maybe both, honestly. But Democrats, I don't really see an outcome where Democrats don't have at least 2 Senate seats or a governor seat and a Senate seat in New Hampshire. If Chris Sununu were to run, it, like I said, might be competitive, but or I think he will run. That's why I'm labeling it tilt blue. Maggie Hassan won by, I think, a little over 1,000 votes last time on the same ballot that Hillary Clinton won by a couple thousand votes. It was really close, but I think that even should Chris Sununu run, she could very narrowly win the state. Now, I'm going to go talk about North Carolina for a second. I think Roy Cooper, it's a very similar situation in North Carolina as it is with New Hampshire, except for it's the reverse. Republicans are going to come out with either 2 Senate seats or a governor seat, or maybe all 3. If Roy Cooper were to run, which I think he probably will. Well, not necessarily. It's a bit of a different situation in North Carolina because you're not gonna have an incumbent because Richard Burr is retiring, so you're not gonna have an incumbent. But it's gonna be a similar scenario, I think. I think that Roy Cooper will run, and I think that he'll probably win by small margins, but I think he'll probably win. Now, these few states I want to talk about, these 3. First off, Wisconsin. I think it's gonna be really competitive. I was labeling it tilt red. I was considering even putting it in the lean red column until 2 things. First off, the DC riots, which are gonna not only throw off suburban support for Republicans, but are just gonna throw off support for Republicans. and will definitely help Democrats. But also Ron Johnson, saying that he was going to vote against to object the results. I don't remember if he did or not. Um, I was watching; it was kind of hard to tell, and I didn't look it up afterwards. From what I heard, the only senators that did object were Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley. Like I said, might have misheard when they said Ron Johnson. I don't know, but he did say that he was going to object. A lot of senators ended up not objecting, but he did say he was going to object in a state that voted for Joe Biden by not a large margin, not at all. It was like 0.6%. It was actually a smaller margin than what Trump won the state by. But in a state that Joe Biden won, regardless of how large of his margin was, he won the state. And these voters will probably feel like, okay, Ron Johnson doesn't believe, like Ron Johnson wants to forget about my vote, which is definitely not a good place to be, especially in a state that's already voted blue. And when you're already a relatively unpopular incumbent, that's not a great thing. I still think that he'll probably very narrowly come out with a victory, but I think that if anything else happens, it doesn't even have to be as large or as bad as the DC riots. Anything that'll shift America to the left just the slightest, tiniest bit, then his seat is tilt blue. I would have labeled this a toss up if I did toss ups. I don't do toss ups really. I'm gonna have to label that tilt red. Now Pennsylvania and Alaska. I'll talk about in Alaska in a minute because there's a lot to talk about, especially in recent news. But Pennsylvania, Pat Toomey is retiring. He is a Republican incumbent. I'm not sure if I should label that tilt blue or lean blue. Pat Toomey is a Republican incumbent. Um, he has said that he thinks that what Trump did was an impeachable act or an impeachable offense. Um, so that's just a bit on Pat Toomey, which I think that him saying that should or would had he decided to run again could have helped him. But he's retiring, so he's not going to run again. Which just makes the seat a lot more open. Their governor, I don't remember his name. He is retiring. Or I think it's a term limit. I think that there's a good chance that he ends up running for Senate. Also the Pennsylvania Democratic Party. It's not a bad party. It's kind of like a meh party. I don't know. We like people talk about a lot of the time these bad Democratic parties, like we or bad both Democratic and Republican parties. We talk about the Democratic Party in Florida. We talk about the Republican Party in Arizona. The Democratic Party in Pennsylvania is not awful. I mean, if they have a Democratic senator and a Democratic governor. I haven't checked out the house map, but I'd assume that they have at least a lot of Democratic seats in the House. I think that's probably tilt blue. And then last state, Alaska. Now I'm gonna label this tilt blue. Actually, maybe even lean blue. And there's a reason for this. It's not because of the state. It's because of the senator. The thing is, Lisa Murkowski has said that if the GOP continues to be the party of Trump, it's not the party for her. She's the incumbent, by the way, who's won elections in the past. She actually won as a write-in a few years ago when she got primaried. Anyways, the thing is about Lisa Murkowski, the GOP is going to become the party of Trump. There's a very good chance that it's the party of Trump going into the future. I see there being a better chance that it is the party of Trump than that it isn't, which I think is a really bad thing for the GOP. As Trump loses and has awful approval ratings, which is just like I said, not good for the GOP. But anyways, Lisa Murkowski will, I think, not become a Democrat. I think she'll become an independent, and that she'll caucus with the Democrats. Which, if you don't know what the caucus is, it's like a meeting, or I say a meeting, I guess a grouping would be a better term. I don't want to say like a convention, like the DNC, because it's not a convention. It's like a grouping. I guess grouping is the best term. But where all these people meet, like Bernie Sanders is an independent. He's a registered independent, but he caucuses with the Democrats. Angus King, I think his first name is Angus, who's from Maine. He's an independent, but he caucuses with the Democrats. Lisa Murkowski, I don't see why she would leave the GOP and then caucus with them. That doesn't make any sense. She's moderate. She sided with the Democrats on a lot of issues. She voted against the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett. I think there's a really good chance that she does run as a Democrat, and I think that she'll probably win. As a Democrat, I think that she won as a write-in. She's won as a Republican. I think that she could win as an independent that caucuses with the Democratic Party. I think that she would come into this favored to be the favored winner. I still think that someone might put up a bit of a challenge, but in all honesty, I don't see them being able to do a whole lot. Now there are talks about other states, Missouri, Jason Kander potentially running. I don't think he's gonna run. I mean, like if he were to run, he might do pretty well. I think he has a better shot, or I don't want to say better shot. I think that there's a better chance that he runs for the governorship or runs for Senate again later on. Louisiana and Kentucky. These are just two states that I've just been theorizing about. Haven't really heard much talk about. Andy Bashir, and I don't know the name of Louisiana's governor, but I do know they have a Democratic governor. They could run, I guess, but I don't think that they would win. South Carolina could be competitive. I don't think that it will be. But yeah, as you can see now, even without, honestly, these two seats, Democrats still hold the majority. And even without Alaska, they still probably will. So they're definitely favorites. So they would have, like, they obviously do hold these two seats. So they're already going to probably hold an outright majority. But considering that they're favored to win in North Carolina right now, very narrowly, I think, but they're kind of favored to win. And then with Lisa Murkowski and all that, probably favored to win in Alaska. I think that they are definitely favored to win the Senate. And this is weird. I think that this is the map that we saw. Not the map, the same numbers that we saw before. Now, with the GOP, which is weird. I'm trying to think about how. Um, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. So it was the Democrats flipped both Colorado and Arizona, and the Republicans flipped Alabama. So it was a net gain of 1, so they're at 49. And they won these two, so they're at 51, and then they would have flipped North Carolina, Pennsylvania, I guess Alaska. I don't know what happened. But anyways, yeah, as you guys can see, Democrats are probably now favored to win the Senate. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video that I make. Bye, guys.